Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 25th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Newtown Township. I hope everyone's enjoying the fall weather. It's fall now. It's my favorite time of year. So welcome, everyone. As is customary, we'll hold a moment of silence this evening. Please join the board as we take a couple of deep breaths and center ourselves to prepare for the business ahead. Thank you. And now please join the board for their Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Lewis, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any special actions? No, there's no special actions. Brings us to our first round of public comment. If you'd like to make comment, please come up and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from in Newtown. And seeing none, we'll proceed to minor approvals. Is there someone here from the HARB? The Historic Architectural Review Board. Ms. Driscoll, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome.
Bill couldn't make it. He asked me to read the report for him. The HARB met on September 11th. The only item on the agenda was Revive Hive at 250 North Sycamore Street. The HARB board voted to recommend that the Board of Supervisors grant a certificate of appropriateness to Revive Hive for replacement signage in flat black with raised white lettering. The PVC board is to have wood texture. This is the property next to the Green Parrot on Sycamore Street that's been empty. In other business, the HARB members briefly discussed a matter of concern to both HARB and the Joint Historic Commission, that we have no way to protect our historic structures that are not already part of the historic district in one of the designated historic villages. It is our understanding that Newtown Borough and Upper Makefield have also been researching this. And that was all they had. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? So we do have this certificate of appropriateness to take action on.
I can frame a motion, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if you
please.
wish.
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
If the board's of a mind, it would be a motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness to Revive. And I made the same mistake. Revive Hive. It's a tongue twister. At 250-254 North Sycamore Street, subject to the applicant's compliance with the HARB memorandum of September 11th, 2024.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? My only point was I thought it was very distinctive looking, kind of elegant in its simplicity. Any other comments from the board? From the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the certificate of appropriateness for Revive Hive? I got it.
You got it right.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Okay. No other action from HARB, but I guess you can stay right there and do Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission met on September 17th. Our only action was the zoning hearing board application for Tyler Rucroft at 73 Richborough Road. The applicant is seeking an increase in impervious surface to 26.81%, where 13% is the maximum and 15.34 is the existing. A side yard setback of 14 feet where 20 is required, and a special exception to build an addition on a non-conforming lot to create a main floor in-law suite with full bath for an aging parent, and to create a circular driveway for the parent to park her car and avoid backing out onto Richborough Road. The commission had concerns about the large increase in impervious surface, as the plans did not show any storm water runoff mitigation. We urge the applicant to present the zoning hearing board with more detailed plans with more accurate measurements for the addition in the driveway. We recommend that the supervisors not oppose the plan, but that any stormwater management be completed to the satisfaction of the township engineer. In other business, the commission briefly discussed the same matter as I just said with Harb about we have no way to protect our historic structures that are not already part of the historic district or in one of the designated historic villages. And Newtown Borough and Upper Make have also been researching this. That was all. That was all we had.
Any questions for,
I do. So,
yes?
with regard to this Richborough Road and the impervious surface, there's been a lot of cases where there's an increase in impervious surfaces, and I know that you always recommend some way to mitigate that. This one is increasing impervious surface by 100% or more, and you're recommending that they have some kind of a plan. Should the Board of Supervisors perhaps send a letter to the zoning hearing board saying that we would agree with the planning commission? Because I don't know how the zoning hearing board hears about the opinions of the planning commission, but if we were to send some kind of letter, they would hear more about asking or requiring that this homeowner have some kind of rainwater mitigation system. Is that what you're looking for?
Well, we did make recommendations to the applicants. It was a pretty basic sketch. It didn't have a lot of the information that we needed, but we suggested that, you know, it goes to Dominic, our township engineer, and he would try to work with them.
How does that happen, Dominic? Do you attend the zoning hearing board and make that recommendation? No.
No.
Is there some point in the process that leverage gets applied, they'd have to meet some stormwater mitigation
Yeah.
in order to proceed?
Two things. First of all, the board can authorize, this is later on the agenda, so we will discuss it under my report. The board can authorize the writing of a letter to the zoning hearing board stating its concern for stormwater management and asking that the zoning hearing board attach a condition to any approval it may grant requiring appropriate stormwater management that meets the approval of the township engineer. That's where the township engineer gets involved, and he'll review the plans and the stormwater management proposal for its effectiveness.
Okay, so that would come up later in the agenda. I would, yeah.
Correct.
Let's put a pin in it for now. The other thing you mentioned, and I think Mr. Bill Mahler had mentioned to me, was about protecting historic structures that are not within the designated historic districts. And I believe at some point in February, we did discuss here some kind of an ordinance. Is that what you're looking for? What do you think is appropriate action that we may be able to take to mitigate that? I'm not quite understanding what you're trying to do.
Well, there are, other than the Sycamore Street from Durham Road to the bypass is our historic district, and there are designated other small parcels throughout the township. But as we saw with the Twining House and a few other properties that were demolished, I think by neglect, some of them, I think we would just like to have, maybe do an inventory of all the historic properties through the township. I don't know if one of them already exists or not. So if something comes up that they want to take down, we would at least get out front of it and be able to see if it's worth saving, if it's something that is,
Well,
you
I
know.
remember with that case, where the Toll Brothers are going to build 45 houses, and
The Twining House came
the Twining
down.
House, they destroyed it. It's something before getting some kind of recognition from an agency. Do you know anything about that? I think the borough had somebody from the Pennsylvania Historic Agency that has a list of historic structures. And I remember the Twining Bridge House, there was some effort to get it on that list of historic structures, but I don't think that ever happened, or it was destroyed before we had a chance to do that. Or at least is that something we should do, for example, discuss this at a meeting such as happened at the borough? I mean, the borough is ahead of us in terms of protecting its historic structures.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the borough's a lot smaller than us, but I'd like to see that list. I don't believe I've ever seen that. Maybe if we could get a copy sent to the Planning Commission and the HARB members, see what properties are throughout the township that are not in designated historic areas.
If I may, piggyback in here. My thought would be maybe the Planning Commission, along with HARB or whomever else, would take the time to research what it is and make a recommendation back to the Board of Supervisors.
Sure.
think
I
that would
understand,
be-
too, that Wrightstown and Upper Makefield are also doing this, so that's something I can bring up at the next jointure meeting and find out where they're at with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the borough had somebody, an expert on preservation, at their September 11th, sound like a work session or Zoom meeting. And Craig Deutsch, I believe, brought this up at that meeting. Those are the people you should be talking to, maybe?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Craig is a member of planning. He's also on the HARB and the Joint Historic Commission.
Right.
So he's very involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to see that list, if there is a list of properties in the township.
Well, you
that
might
are-
want to invite this expert that was at the borough. I mean, if they would come to the borough, why wouldn't they come to Newtown Township and give the same presentation as they did at the borough?
Well, I can reach out to them.
Okay, great.
Do you know if they were paid or they just came out of the goodness of their hearts?
I don't really know. This is the first I've actually heard that there was someone at the borough meeting. But Michelle, our planner, she's the engineer for the borough, so I could contact her and maybe ask her.
You can even maybe check their meeting minutes, too.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, I don't want to drag this out too long, that the Twining House, which house are we, there were two houses off of Twining.
This was the one that was set back in the woods
Okay.
off of Twining Bridge Road that,
The last time I looked, it was still there. I took a walk back there not too long ago.
no, there was one
The
that
one
was
that was-
demolished.
One that was
Correct.
demolished was, I think, at Declaration and Twining Bridge at the intersection.
This one was set back. It's where
Uh-oh.
Toll is going to develop the 40 houses back here.
Yeah, I got pictures. It was like a month or two ago that I went back there and it was still there.
No,
It's in
Dennis,
very
this one was raised to the ground. It was a farmhouse with a tool shed next to it, something like that.
The DeLuca property,
No.
No.
It was in the area where
Okay.
the Toll Brothers,
I
The
volunteered.
DeLuca property's further down.
It used to be the Ark, if you remember that.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. All right.
and it was,
Like I say, I was there not too long ago. I walked all around the house. But
well, you're not
I'll check
allowed
it- I'll
in, you're
check
not
it
allowed
out.
in that property. You were trespassing.
and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I got permission from the township.
I believe the Twining House came down, the township issued a demolition by neglect permit for it. Is that right, Joe? You would probably remember.
We'll figure it out.
Well, it was in the settlement with Toll Brothers that would be destroyed. But then people from the harm, I guess, came to us and said that this might be something that's of historic value. So anyway,
We went through the house. We did actually, we went through the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
It had a bathtub and everything. But the person who was at the borough is named Megan McNish, who is the Eastern Region Community Preservation Coordinator for the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office. And that office is the one that's responsible for looking at potential structures that could be on their historic preservation list. So she would be the person I think you would invite to the Planning Commission, and, you know, she can give the same presentation she gave to the borough.
Okay, absolutely. If you forward me her information, I will contact her.
I will.
Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
Anything more? Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. That brings us to reports of board members. I have 4 things to report. First one is to thank Ms. Snyder for taking over the meeting on September 11th, as I was out of town. So thank you for that. Since the last meeting, I have attended a couple of fire service meetings with the borough. I think Ms. Snyder also reported out last time that the township and the borough have come to an agreement around the borough's payment for fire services in 2025. And we can speak a little bit more about that, because I believe there's an agenda item about that as well this evening. And let me just make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I attended 2 meetings with on the topic of blue zones. And blue zones, if you remember me talking, or if you don't remember me talking about it here before, are the best way to learn about blue zones is to go on Netflix and watch the series. It is blue zones are rare longevity hotspots, and also hotspots where people have high life satisfaction. And the Netflix documentary documents those 5 initial sites. Since then, it's gone around the world, across the United States, and Bucks County received a grant from the state last spring that brought the Blue Zones folks here to Bucks County for a study, and they're in they should have their findings to us, to the county by December of this year. And so there'll be more about it. I just want to make sure people know about it and get a chance to ask questions down the road. There's no initial and no financial commitment to the township for the foreseeable future. There might be projects that we would adopt, and especially because of their effects on improving health and welfare of our citizens, like walking trails or things like that, that we would probably do anyway. So that's what I got. So I'll pass the torch to the vice chairwoman.
Speaking of the planning committee at the next meeting, they were asking about deer mitigation. I said I would bring it up to the Board of Supervisors because they're worried about the amount of deer on the roads. I said I didn't think we could do anything about that. That's a state park issue where they do a hunt, but I said I would mention it. We are in the midst of getting ready for our pollinator garden Township and Community Planting Event, October 12th and 13th. That's a lot of volunteers, along with help from the township. We're going to put in over 2,000 pollinator plants for the enjoyment of the public and for education of students. That's all I have. Thank you.
And I just would mention on the deer mitigation that probably about 9 or 10 years ago, we did a study about what to do about the deer population. And so we could bring that back out. I'm sure the deer haven't changed a whole lot in their behavior since then. So if our numbers are getting higher, we could go back and look at that study, see what their recommendations were.
Yeah, I mean, we have a herd of about 20 deer in our development. It's not just Tyler State Park, and I don't think we can shoot them in our development, so.
Nope. Okay. Mr. Mack, would you like to go next? Do you have anything to report? Mr. Davis?
Actually, I do have something. Newtown Rotary is holding a pancake breakfast to raise funds for the Memorial Day Parade at the American Legion this Sunday, September 29th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's $12 a person, and kids are free. So you can look for that in newtownrotary.org if you're interested. And actually, there's a patch article out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Like those public service announcements. All right. Next thing on my agenda is a public hearing. And Mr. Sander, would you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board will recall that this conditional use hearing for Love and Honey Fried Chicken at 2820 South Eagle Road was continued until tonight. We received correspondence from the applicant requesting an additional continuance to allow an amendment to the application to be made. So we won't be holding a hearing tonight, but we are on the record, and the board should consider a motion to continue the hearing to October 9th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. in the Township Building.
Do we have such a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion of the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving this continuance, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. No land development. Let's move on to our engineer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two items on the agenda tonight. The first being the certificate of total completion for the promenade at Sycamore Street. I would ask the board to refer to the CKS engineers letter dated September 18th, 2024. They have reviewed the final reduction financial security request from the developer. And based upon their review, they're recommending the enclosed certificate of completion number 8 final in the amount of $136,795.70 be released.
Do we have a motion? I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any questions around this? It's been probably, seems like about eight or 9 years.
At least, I think.
Yeah. How many? 10. So, okay, any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving this certificate of completion, number 8, final, for the promenade of Sycamore Street, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. The second item is the 809 Linton Hill Road planning module. We completed a review of the planning module submitted by Jones Engineering Associates. This is for the Walsh Minor Subdivision, formerly known as 385 Stukeville Road. We have reviewed this submission, and we recommend review and signature by the Board of Supervisors for this planning module.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a second, a motion and a second, okay. Any questions or comments for our engineer? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the planning module for, what is it, 385 Steubenville Road, Walsh Minor Subdivision, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
some questions
Okay.
that are about the crosswalk projects.
Sure.
I'm sure Mr. Kandari is not looking forward to this, but I understand we had a recent communication from PennDOT regarding the Silo Drive crosswalk, and the ADA ramps that we have there are not up to, it seems to me, from what I understand, they're not up to the latest code for Americans with Disabilities Act, and not compliant with the latest code. And I'm not quite sure what PennDOT is asking for, but can you give us a short rundown of what they're looking for?
They're looking for the designs for the ADA ramps at this intersection. This is not a state route, so it's not common for them to request this, but we have been working with them to provide the information that they want to approve this traffic signal permit at Sycamore and Silo.
This came up a month ago, where you got a communication from PennDOT that they had concerns about these ramps. I mean, why did we just getting more blowback from them at this point?
The turnaround on the reviews takes, a couple weeks from PennDOT. So as we get the information from them, we're working on the information that they request, and we send it to them as soon as we have it prepared.
Well, we need the permit for this project. And I know this has been funded by, I know that you said to do what PennDOT wants to do would increase significantly the cost, something to that effect.
I think I just mentioned it's just another delay to get them the approved permit, traffic signal permit.
Would it increase the cost if we were to comply with what PennDOT is asking for?
No, the ADA ramps are part of the original scope of the project.
Oh, I thought they were saying it wasn't in the...
Their review for the traffic signal permit was not originally part of the submission, because they don't typically comment on this aspect of the project
Right.
because it's not a state route.
Is PennDOT holding up the permit until we get a plan to them regarding the ramps?
We have sent them the information that they had asked for the ramps, and they are currently reviewing.
They're currently, when did you send them that information?
End of last week.
Okay. You didn't specify that this may increase significantly the cost of the project to do what they're asking for?
I did not say that, no.
I have email from you where you said that it would, I mean, I have to find this quote. I'm concerned because that's what you said in the email, that it would increase the cost.
If we were to relocate the ramps at that intersection, it would increase the cost, but
Is
that's
that
not
what
part.
PennDOT is asking for, to relocate the ramps?
No, they asked us for the design of the ADA ramps at the intersection.
I don't understand. I'm getting two different information from you. One that it's going to increase the cost and one that's not. So which is it?
I have not said what's going to increase in cost.
To do what PennDOT is seeking additional information.
And it's going to take more time.
Would increase the cost dramatically, and would not fit within the ARLE funding. That's what you said in email.
To relocate the ramps, but that's not what we're proposing.
You're proposing something different than what PennDOT wants?
No, PennDOT has not told us that they want to relocate the ramps. We're
asked-
open to comments from PennDOT on the ramp design, but they have not indicated that they want to relocate the crosswalks, because they know that it's not within the funding of the approved grant. And so at that point, they are asking for what's called a technically feasible form for the design of the ramps, and that's what we have recently submitted to them to make our point to not have to relocate the crosswalks.
So you made a point that we do not have to relocate the crosswalk, because why did you make that point?
Because it's not part of the
Is
funding.
that what PennDOT asked for, to relocate the ADA ramps?
No. They asked for the technically infeasible forms, the TIF forms, and they were going to review them.
But you just said the technical and feasibility form.
If I may,
Can I finish?
you're,
You just
You're-
said
you're
that that
badgering the
form
witness.
was to contest the feasibility of moving the ramps. Why would you need to do that?
Because we are not proposing to relocate the ramps. And so their response is they want us to send in these standard TIF form to justify why we don't want to relocate the ramps.
and in the meantime, when we've got the letter, we approached our state representative and our state senator to speak to PennDOT, and they have spoken to PennDOT. They've got a receipt that PennDOT has gotten their questions and their comments and questions, and so we're waiting for PennDOT to get back to us. What we've asked them to do is issue the permit while we haggle about the design of the accessibility ramps. This is not, from, again, what I know about it, it is not a state road, so it's interesting that they're asking about especially about the design of the accessibility ramps. I know this has been a touchy intersection as well as other intersections around the township. So,
All right, it's getting a little bit of mixed signals, and I assume everything is on schedule. You're going to be opening the bids on Friday morning at 10 o'clock
That's right.
at your offices. This is, the public is invited to come to your office at that time?
That's right.
Okay,
okay,
thank you.
all right. Mr. Solicitor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item concerns the fire services agreement between the township and the borough. As you mentioned in your report, the township has negotiated a new agreement. It is necessary to memorialize that agreement in writing. The current agreement expires December 31st, 2024, so we need a new agreement. It'd be appropriate for the board to consider a motion to authorize our office to draft an intergovernmental agreement with Newtown Borough for fire services and a resolution approving that agreement.
And I'll second it. Any discussion from the board?
Yes, what are you exactly, what's going to be the content of this agreement? I mean, the terms, can you?
I can send you the current agreement so you can take a look at it.
I know what the current agreement is.
That's going to look very much like the current agreement.
It's going to be like a 5% increase per year?
That's up to the advice I get from the folks who negotiated the agreement.
Because the last agreement was a 5% increase per year, but the average inflation rate over the past 3 years has been higher than that, 5.2 to 5.6 over the 3 years. So I would suggest if you're going to have an increase, yearly increase, it's more than 5%. Otherwise, we're losing money, it sounds like.
There is a base figure that increases by 5%. However, there's also service increases. They're now getting 7 days a week, 12-hour coverage, and they were getting five days a week, set 12-hour coverage. In addition, there's capital expenses for their gear that it raises. So it's altogether being raised. The 5% base, the service improvements are, let me see, 7,000. That's about $12,000. Their percentage of the service agreement increases, and there's also the capital increases or another 12,000. So they're absorbing 17,000 more than they did last year, which,
Well, that brings it up, I think, Ms. Snyder mentioned at the last meeting that it's going to be approximately 192,000.
approximately 192,000, yes. I should have given
Versus
that.
it was 148,000. And I remember when I was involved in negotiations, the township originally back almost 3 years ago, asked for 300,000. And, you know, we're getting at the most 192,000. So it doesn't seem like we're getting enough from the borough, in my opinion.
And it's a two-way negotiation, so, you know, of course, they think they're paying too much. And so, I mean, I agree, I'd like to have it be higher, but there is a process of negotiation, and in so doing, we've secured from an initial 150,000 roughly to now we're almost to the 200,000. And there's down the road, there's additional services and additional expenses and capital expenses that will impact this. So I will pass, if the board is so inclined to pass this motion, I will send all the figures that we've negotiated, that we've talked about to Mr. Sander, and I'll send it to the board as well. So, any further comments from the board? Did I get it right, Ms. Snyder? Okay. Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing the drafting of this agreement by our township solicitor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last item on our agenda is the zoning hearing board application of Tyler Rowcroft, 73 Richborough Road. You heard mention made of this at the Planning Commission, and there was a preliminary discussion regarding stormwater management. Point of information before we consider what you want to do. This has been continued to the November zoning hearing board. Found out this afternoon that the applicant has requested a continuance, and this will not be heard in October. This will be heard in November, but that doesn't mean that the board shouldn't discuss it tonight and get it off its plate. I would suggest that if you have stormwater management concerns, that you authorize us to write a letter to the zoning hearing board stating those concerns and asking the zoning hearing board to attach a condition that would require the applicant to provide stormwater management facilities to the satisfaction of the township engineer.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Would you like, do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
I would make that motion.
Do we have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? I'll just say that I'm in favor of attaching a letter as well. Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving this, of sending the letter to the zoning hearing board, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
And that concludes our report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Solicitor. All right, that brings us to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance this evening is $7,399,468. Plan expirations before the board with no action required. This evening we have Chief Forsyth to give us monthly chief's report. It's been a while, Chief. How are you doing?
Yes.
It has been a while. It's good to see everybody. I'm happy to report for the month of August, we responded to 145 calls for service. We completed 91 fire safety inspections in Newtown Township, 4 UNOs, and 1 sprinkler inspection. In Newtown Borough, we completed 9 fire safety inspections. Our highlights for August, we attended several meetings. We attended a special meeting of the Bucks County Fire Chiefs Association where they accepted the new Fire Service Advisory Board from the county commissioners. I've been fortunate enough to be selected by the county commissioners to sit on that board, so hopefully we can come up with some solutions to our current problems. Our big event was August 29th. We had a technical rescue team come up from Virginia. They've done research on high-angle rescues, and we've had several at the community college, and they wanted to come up and train with us and see how we complete our rescues. So we spent the day with the technical rescue team out of Virginia, which was pretty decent for us. We assisted Upper Makefield Fire Company on August 30th on a working house fire. And on August 26th, we had our general membership meeting, which I would like to report that at the August 26th general membership meeting, I had the privilege of recognizing 17 of the firefighters with letter accommodations for the work they performed at the July 15th flash flood in Upper Makefield. Chief Weaver and I, we presented 17 letter accommodations to the folks that worked that entire week at the flooding. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and we had also firefighter Liz Ellis, firefighter Quinn Jones from Emergency Services, Deputy Chief Roy LaRosa, firefighter Quinnen, who is retired, resigned from our department and went to Norristown, Battalion Chief Gerhardt, firefighter Bradshaw, firefighter Jones, firefighter Katz, and firefighter Tanner. They received unit citations for the work that was performed the night of the incident. These guys worked long and hard hours in the daylight and darkness trying to recover the folks that were still alive and unfortunately the folks that perished in that flood. We did have 2 outstanding gentlemen perform some heroic actions that night, and we presented the Medal of Valor to Deputy Chief Roy LaRosa and our former firefighter Shane Quinnen. They were one of the first 2 that responded to that incident. They assisted Chief Brewer in several rescues of the folks that we could get to in a quick manner, and they completed 3 rescues, and they also were part of the recovery team for several days after that. So it was a highlighted night for us. I apologize to them because it took a year to recognize them, but it just goes to show the outstanding work that the career staff and the volunteers are doing. I would like to also report for the month of August. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. It's been a while, so I had to get back in a groove. We responded to 71 EMS calls, 45 alarm systems, 3 wires calls, 1 stuck elevator, 2 brush fires, 1 building fire, 4 dwelling fires, 2 marine rescues, 4 water flow alarms. We assisted the squad 1 time. We responded to 4 traffic accidents, 2 automobile fires, 2 fumes in calls, 1 wires in call, 1 rubbish fire, and 1 domestic rescue for the total of 145 calls for service. That is my report for the month of August. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very extensive. Any questions from the board?
You weren't here for the meeting, but I did express how proud I was of the actions of members of our fire services and emergency services. And it was an honor to watch them get their awards. It was great. And thank you for your service and for everybody that works with you. Amazing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our report.
Okay. Just a second till I turn the page. Okay, we're ready for minutes, bills, lists, and reports. Mr. Mack, you're on.
Okay, let's do this. I move that we approve the minutes of the September 11, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting.
We have a motion, there's a second. I will be abstaining.
As will I. This is going to be a problem.
We can defer this to the next meeting, Mr. Chairman. There's not enough folks who were at that meeting present to vote affirmatively.
Okay. So we will
Okay,
we will
moving
defer
on.
them.
I move that we pay our bills totaling $176,029.96 as per the August 28th, 2024 bills list.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying our bills as listed on the September 25th bills list, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Finally, I move that we approve funds transfer of $304,189.88 as per the September 28th, 2024 bills list. No, 25th, September 25th.
September 25th, 2024.
What month are we in? The 25th.
This is the 25th of September.
I got everything all wrong.
Okay. Do we have a that was a motion for interfund transfers. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying our interfund transfers as found on the September 25th, 2024 bills list, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right. That brings us to our second round of public comment. All those wanting to give comment, please come to the microphone, state your name and what community you're from, and we'll take it from there.
Good evening, everyone. Charles Foyer from Newtown Walk. And the group of concerned citizens of Newtown Walk and Newtown did not attend the last Board of Supervisors meeting with the belief that the projects and procedure were moving forward. It's sort of disheartening to hear that after what was announced by the township engineer at the last meeting, that it's taken a month for some forms to be provided to PennDOT and now delay it further because we all know that PennDOT now needs to review the forms which justify the lack of change to the comments they made. So in light of that, I have one question and I have one request on behalf of Newtown and those of us that are concerned with public safety and the crosswalks at both mid-block at Tara and the Sycamore Silo crosswalks. And the question is, with the bid opening occurring Friday, the process which has been provided to us at previous meetings would be that there's a review of the bids and an award. Following that, I believe there is then an award to a contractor and roughly a 1-month delay for the contractor to begin construction. Is that roughly correct? Mr. Engineer?
Oh,
Please direct your comments to the chair.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Why don't, yeah, go ahead. No, I'll respond.
So in light of the further delay, we all know that two-project ARLE grant has requirements to it to be completed. The question is, can we ask PennDOT if after Friday's bid opening, if an award can be made to the contractor for one of the two projects which are part of the one ARLE grant, in light of the fact that Newtown Township is planned, committed by the agreement to complete both projects. Is Newtown Township allowed to award the contract to the contractor to begin the Tara mid-block crosswalk in light of the fact that the township engineer has not yet completed negotiations or communications regarding the Sycamore silo crosswalk? And we don't know when that permit's going to be issued. PennDOT has issued the permit for the Tara mid-block crosswalk, I think it was 2 months ago. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my question. Can the township or the engineer ask PennDOT if it's acceptable under the ARLE grant to proceed in awarding the construction of the Tara mid-block crosswalk upgrade while negotiations go on for the Sycamore silo?
I'm going to attempt to answer your question. In addition, we will get an answer in writing, but it's my understanding that we can proceed with selecting a contractor, and what we're asking, and we can make changes to the, what do they call it, change order, to the process, if there are substantial changes.
Yes.
The other part of your question that I understand is what we've already done. We've asked PennDOT to come back to us with their answer about a permit approval while we haggle the nuances of the accessibility ramp. And that will allow us to, and like I say, I'll get this in writing from our manager and maybe solicitor to make sure that I'm right, that we can make the change orders on one hand and also work with PennDOT to get the approval and negotiate the differences on the accessibility ramp. So those are my answers.
And the only question that remains is, after the bid opening on Friday, is Newtown able to award a construction contract to the contractor that wins for the permitted Tara mid-block crosswalk so that it can proceed as part of the two location upgrades while we wait for the permit, depending on what PennDOT does? In other words, can it proceed and not be delayed by Sycamore silo for construction?
Well, we can get you that answer in writing.
Yeah. That would be great.
Okay.
Thanks so much, and we'd also like to thank Chief Hearn and the police for their continued diligence at the Tara mid-block crosswalk, for keeping people in compliance with the reduced speed limit and public safety. Thanks very much.
Enforcement is part of what we're trying to do. Education and enforcement.
John DeApril, Newtown Grant, biggest and the best. Seems kind of ridiculous that somebody up there with the statements and all that stuff, I know he was asleep the whole time before he got elected, but I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania, I spent my whole life here. I know that PennDOT is slow. just the amount of time this guy spent on the board. He should know PennDOT is slow. And it seems to be, because we had a incident in Northeast Philadelphia before I moved to Newtown, that we kept on PennDOT for them, and I don't know if it was a different department in there, but they kind of like put us on hold and people complained too much. I hope that wasn't the case, but you know, they still have the same problems, you know, where that was at. But, you know, to see an elected official, you know, not know what's going on, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I keep on telling him to resign. I know you guys up there don't like him either. I wish he would resign. Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right. Seeing none, proceed to old business or new business. Anybody have any old or new business? Any need for an executive session, Mr. Sanders?
Not this evening, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Without further objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for coming out.